waited a few months, but I also thought you guys might get lonely because the Vice President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What you guys just saw there was based JD Vance pulling up on Kamala Harris's plane, Air Force Two, like a goon, okay? That's why I'm about to start calling JD Vance a goon, okay? Because he is really out here doing the work, okay? He has essentially adopted a strategy of following Kamala Harris around everywhere she goes, right? So whatever rally she does, he's going to be there doing a counter rally and spreading the message. Now, JD Vance is not only using the free media attention that he's getting from doing this to answer questions, no matter how stupid the question is from the media.
Charlie likes to box together with a little bit different here. You've been criticized as being a little too serious, maybe angry sometimes. What makes you smile? What makes you happy?
Well, I smile at a lot of things, including bogus questions from the media, man. I mean, look, I think if you watch a full speech that I give, I actually am having a good time out here, and I'm enjoying this. But look, sometimes you got to take the good with the bad. And right now, I am angry about what Kamala Harris has done to this country and done to the American southern border. And I think that most people in our country, they can be happy-go-lucky sometimes, they can enjoy things sometimes, and they can turn on the news and recognize that what's going on in this country is a disgrace. And if what Kamala Harris has done at the southern border, and if what Kamala Harris has done to raise the price of groceries and housing, if that doesn't bother you, then I think that you don't have a pulse, right? And so, look, I think my message to the American people is very simple on this, that President Trump in particular has the best sense of humor of anybody I've ever seen in American politics. He loves to joke. He loves to tell, he loves to make fun of everybody that's out there. And I think you got to do that from time to time. But he's also a guy who's very frustrated with what Kamala Harris has done to this country. Both of those things can be true. And I think most Americans can joke around, but also be pissed off about the direction of this country. Thank you, sir.
To go after the Biden administration, including Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who apparently is engaging in stolen valor, and JD Vance spoke on that in response to Tim Walz attacking JD Vance with false claims that JD Vance likes to have sex with couches, a claim that the mainstream liberal media hasn't fact-checked.
Last night, Governor Walz suggested that because of your Ivy League education and your Silicon backing your political career, that you yourself are part of the elite. What are your first impressions of them trying to frame you this way to the American public?
Well, look, I came from a family where nobody in my family had ever gone to law school. I grew up in a poor family. The fact that Tim Walz wants to turn it into a bad thing, that I actually worked myself through college, through law school, and made something myself, to me, that's the American dream. And if Tim Walz wants to insult it, I think that's frankly pretty bizarre. Now, look, what really bothers me about Tim Walz, it's not even the positions that he's taken, though certainly he has been a far-left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest. Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control, he said we shouldn't allow weapons that I used in war to be on America's streets. Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? What was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not. And if he wants to criticize me for getting an Ivy League education, I'm proud of the fact that my mamaw supported me, that I was able to make something of myself. I'd be ashamed if I was him and I lied about my military service like he did.
A few moments later.
Well, here is Tim Walz, who enlisted when he was 17 years old. He served in the National Guard for 24 years. And I'm not aware of any military service that JD Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And what happened in the tragedy of the killing of George Floyd and then the unrest. Yeah, okay, pardon me for that.
Well, JD Vance has criticized him as never having been in combat. And,
has he?
And
has he?
Well,
has JD Vance been in combat?
Well, I think he was over in Iraq, I think, as a public relations officer, as a communications officer. I think that's the case. But he's also said that this is anti-Semitic, that Josh Shapiro was not chosen because he wasn't against Israel enough.
But let me say this. We have some challenges in our country. As I say all the time, what matters are the kitchen table issues for the American people. What matters is the distinction between the two visions for our country and the experience that has been brought. Joe Biden, 16 million jobs created. I don't like to use his name, but Donald Trump, the worst job creation record since Herbert Hoover.
What about
Walz did make a comment, speaking to a group, he's done it a couple of times, where he has used language that has suggested that he carried weapons in a fighting situation. As you know, with your contact with the military, I know from coming from a military family, there is a difference between being in a combat area, being involved at a time of war, and actually being in a position where people are shooting at you. There is no evidence that at any time Governor Walz was in a position of being shot at, and some of his language could easily be seen to suggest that he was. So that is absolutely false when he said that about gun rights out there.
Yeah, so you see that, you hear that. Okay, JD's attack against Tim Walz was so effective that it's now forcing the mainstream liberal media and the Democrats to play defense about whether or not Tim Walz is engaged in stolen valor, right? Again, JD is going ham, okay? JD is a bulldog, okay? He's a goon, right? He really is. He's out here doing the work. I love it. So not only is he using this opportunity to attack the Democrats, but he's also using it as an opportunity to call out the mainstream liberal media for the fact that they're not doing their jobs, okay? This is something I've talked about quite a bit on my channel lately, and I'm glad that the Trump campaign is picking up on this, because I really believe that this is the reason why you're seeing Kamala Harris have the surge that she's having. It has nothing to do with her as much as it has to do with the fact that the mainstream liberal media is engaged in an astroturfing campaign to pump up Kamala Harris by never criticizing her and letting her campaign in the basement. Okay, she has not answered one single question since Joe Biden was overthrown via coup. Not one question. Now, again, you would think that in a sane world, okay, where the media is actually neutral, okay, they would be interested in having the American people be informed about the policies of a candidate that quite literally nobody voted for. Okay, this is a major party candidate nobody voted for, and the media doesn't seem to be concerned about giving the American people the information that they need to know in order to make a decision about who to vote for, okay? Because they are colluding with the Democrats to try to stop Trump from taking back the White House, okay? That is what is happening. So JD Vance, every time that he's speaking with the media, every time that the camera is on him, he is calling out these reporters over the fact that they're not doing their jobs. And MSNBC got so triggered by this that they decided to cut the feed as JD Vance is calling out some of their reporters for refusing to do their job. Take a look.
Today marks 7 days where she has been the presumptive Democrat nominee and 17 days where she has refused to answer questions from the media. President Trump will go anywhere, into hostile audiences, into friendly audiences, and answer tough questions. I will go anywhere and answer tough questions because I respect the American people enough to say that I should have to earn your vote. I shouldn't be expected to be given your vote while I hide in a basement or stand in front of a teleprompter, which is exactly what Kamala Harris has done. So I'd ask all the reporters here to show a little bit of self-awareness.
All right, that is Donald Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator JD Vance, speaking now in Michigan. He's also gone directly after Tim Walz over his military record. Back with us now, Republican strategist Susan Del Percio and Democratic strategist Basil Smikle. Again, Vance is on this shadow tour going where the Democratic ticket is going. Trump's not with him. But what did you make of those comments, Susan, we just heard?
They weren't very good. I mean, the point of a vice president, there are two things. It's to put forward the ticket's agenda and attack, frankly, the opponent. So him going after Harris the way he has is just kind of pitiful. That's what he's got. She's in a basement. He should be, if he wants to talk about a record, talk about a record. He's hiding because he's got nothing else. And so he says he goes into hostile territory. He still can't answer a straight question. So, I mean, this is the guy who comes up with lines about single women and cats running the country. He's really flat, in my opinion.
Your thoughts, Basil?
There's a through line here because he said that in this clip that the press should be more self-aware. When he talks about Donald Trump not being afraid to go into certain rooms, he went into NABJ, the black journalist, and waved his finger at the black journalists that were on stage with him. So this isn't about going into rooms and not caring. This is about berating people and insulting folks. That's what they do. That's what they're good at. So yeah, they'll go into any room that they need to, that's necessary, but they're going to do it with a more hateful message, not one where they're willing to actually engage and talk about issues.
Guys, stay with us.
Wow, that was probably one of the most fascinating segments that I've ever seen on MSNBC because you have the white woman Republican strategist basically sounding like a Democrat when analyzing what JD Vance said, okay? And it's just so funny because this woman is so clueless that she doesn't realize that she makes absolutely no sense. She's basically saying that, well, JD Vance doesn't have anything, that this line of attack is, I don't know, not effective, when the whole point of what JD Vance is saying is that the media is not covering Kamala Harris, right? They're not asking Kamala Harris questions, okay? This is why these so-called Republican attacks are not effective. It's not because the attacks don't land or that they don't have solid arguments against Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. It's the fact that the media won't cover it, right? They won't cover it, right? And they also don't want to ask Kamala Harris questions that may expose her, right? That's the whole point of what JD Vance is saying. He's 100% right. The media is covering for her, and he is saying that, listen, we will go anywhere, which they have, right? I mean, JD Vance has been following Kamala Harris around, and he's taking questions from everybody, right? All the media outlets, okay? Trump went into the lion's den, a black journalist, and dragged his scrotum all over him, okay? That's what he did. But what has Kamala done? What has Tim Walz done? They done nothing. They've done nothing but run and hide from a very friendly media, which tells you everything you need to know about that ticket. It is weak, okay? It's weak. I mean, even the black dude was more in touch with reality than that woman, right? The black Democrat, he was like, well, yeah, they will go into the lion's den just so they can say hateful things, right? That's what that dude came up with. I'm like, okay, well, that's not as bad as the take that your colleague just gave there. But again, these people are ridiculous. What's happening in the media is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? They say things like, oh, Republican attacks aren't working, while at the same time ensuring that their ignorant audiences never hear the attacks that are coming from the Republicans that the media claims is not working, right? That's how they play the game, guys. They put out a narrative and say, oh, Republican attacks aren't working, while at the same time, they'll never tell you what those attacks are, right? They'll never tell you what the Republicans are saying because they don't want the audience to know what the Republicans are saying. This is what we're dealing with, right? A rigged media, 100% rigged. And I think that the Trump campaign has realized this, that we cannot let this continue to go on. And there's a couple ways that we have to deal with this issue, right? First and foremost, again, we have to realize what we're up against. We're up against Democrats in the media. Well, how do you deal with the media? Well, you have to discredit the media, right? By calling out the media every time you're interviewed and you say, hey, why are you not talking to Kamala Harris? Why are you not demanding to speak with Kamala Harris and for her to answer questions? Because Kamala Harris came to power via coup. Nobody voted for her, and she hasn't answered any questions. And we have to remind the American people, while they are watching these mainstream liberal media outlets, that, hey, these outlets are not trustworthy. These guys lied to you about Joe Biden, said he was amazing until after the CNN debate where they actually admitted the truth. Okay? Now, these are the same individuals who are now propping up the coup candidate that nobody voted for. They're not asking questions about the coup. They're not asking questions about Kamala Harris and what she believes, and they're not saying anything negative about her. It's propaganda, right? You should not fall for the propaganda. The Republicans have to speak directly to the audiences that are watching, because these are the people that are being brainwashed. And it is a powerful effect. I'm telling you, because we witnessed it happen. Joe Biden fell apart after the CNN debate because the mainstream liberal media stopped covering for him. They finally told the truth and he collapsed, okay? They throw Kamala in. Guess what? The media is covering Kamala like she is the greatest thing ever. Guess what? Her poll numbers skyrocket. But just a couple months ago, Kamala Harris was the most unpopular vice president ever. Again, how does that work? How do you go from being the most unpopular vice president ever to now she's the greatest thing since sliced bread? And again, the polls are reflecting that people are falling for this nonsense. Again, how does that happen? It happens because of the media, right? So yeah, I know nobody watches CNN, but collectively, a lot of people watch CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, PBS, you name it. Collectively, again, this is what's happening in the media. This is what they're doing. Every channel outside of Fox News is kissing Kamala Harris's ass. And also I'll throw News Nation in there as well too, right? News Nation, Fox News, Newsmax, every other major channel, again, they're kissing Kamala's ass. And that's something that we have to deal with. So I think what is happening is that, again, the Trump campaign has realized that, hey, anytime we're in front of the media, we got to call out the media. We have to basically discredit the media, discredit what people are watching every single time we're in front of the media. And that's exactly what they should be doing, right? That's what they should be doing. Because, again, Kamala is a creation of the media, 100%. It's a house of cards because everybody knows that she's weak. Okay, this is why she doesn't want to do a Fox News debate, which up until now, Trump has insisted that there's a Fox News debate or no debate. Now he's coming out, and it seems like he's kind of saying that there's going to be a debate soon, and they're going to announce some details, but they might end up having to do it on a mainstream liberal media outlet because otherwise you're probably not going to get a debate at all.
I hear she's hasn't taken one interview. She would never do an interview like this. That I can guarantee with any network. She doesn't do interviews because she can't answer questions. I don't know how she debates. I heard she's sort of a nasty person, but not a good debater. But we'll see because we'll be debating her, I guess, in the pretty near future. It's going to be announced fairly soon, but we'll be debating her. I'd like to see it on Fox, by the way. I would like to see it. My preference would be Fox, but we have to debate.
Do you have an announcement, Mr. Are you working stuff out behind the scenes? Because we haven't heard about it yet.
No, but I can tell you every network loves me very much right now. They love me very much. I've never been so loved by CBS and by ABC fake news. And by NBC. No, they're all in love with me now, so that, I say yes because it's up to me, obviously, also.
But, on the debate,
the most important thing is we get debate. I think debates are very important, and I think she'll be exposed just like Biden was exposed. Nobody knew Biden was that bad, and then he was exposed during the debate, and they tried to have a series of comebacks after that, and they didn't work out too well, and they viciously overthrew him. I mean, he was overthrown in it, using every trick in the book. They overthrew him. It was pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, so I think what the Trump campaign is realizing is the situation that we're in, right? Which is that the media is covering for Kamala. There's no criticism that is being directed her way. They're not asking her questions. She's not answering any questions. And if this continues on, then she's going to cruise to victory in the election. Because, again, it's going to be the media propping her up, and nobody will know anything about her, and they'll just vote for her because she's not Trump. Okay? That is the strategy. So it doesn't matter how much, the Republicans scream and yell on Fox News about all of the issues that the American people care about. if that message is not getting across on these mainstream liberal media platforms, okay, if they're not actually talking about the real issues, if they're not criticizing Kamala and asking questions, it's only going to get you so far, right? So I think they recognize the need for debate, the need for Kamala Harris to actually talk, okay, for Kamala Harris to get exposed on the national stage in a way that, again, it's going to be hard for the mainstream liberal media to spin in real time as people are watching it, just like what happened to Joe Biden, right? The liberal media could not spin what happened to Joe Biden at that debate. They couldn't spin that at all. It was so blatant in your face. I think Kamala Harris is almost just as bad as Joe Biden, okay? I think that she is. And I think that the Trump team knows this. Everybody knows this, because if she was actually good, she would be speaking. She'd be answering questions. So we know that she's weak. We just have to get her exposed. And that means that, hey, we may just have to do the debates. Right? At first, I was like, I think Trump should stick to his guns because I'm tired of the left and Democrats dictating everything. But that was back when Trump's poll numbers versus Kamala's were a lot more favorable towards Trump. Now that things are essentially evenly split, with Kamala gaining momentum, now you don't have that leverage anymore. Now you kind of got to show up to the debate, even if it's not on your own home turf, right? Even if it's rigged against you a little bit, because again, the calculation here is that Kamala is so weak that it won't matter, right? Just like Joe Biden. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for that. You're hoping that Kamala is so weak that it won't matter that the platform is rigged against Trump. Kamala will just expose herself. So I am hoping that the Trump campaign here vouches for more debates, right? We need to see more debates. And I think the more debates we have, that will be a good strategy as well, too, to get around the mainstream liberal media blocking out any negativity of Kamala Harris. And I think that if Kamala refuses to do these debates, then I think you can then put the ball in her court and say, you're scared, right? You're a coward. We want more debates, not less, right? Because Kamala's going to try to do the one debate and then she's done. She's not going to try to do any more debates, okay? She'll let her VP debate, but she's not going to be doing any more debates. I promise you. So her strategy is to be in the basement, to avoid any questions or criticism until the first debate. And then after the first debate, do that again until the election. That's what she's going to try to do, right? And the mainstream, they're going to try their best to help her do it. So again, if Trump, especially early on, is calling for more debates earlier in the process, especially before people start early voting, okay, that's also a key here. You got to have these debates. You have to have the criticism land before people start voting, period. And that will also disrupt her campaign schedule when it comes to these rallies, okay? If she has to prepare for debates, then that's less time that she spends campaigning on the ground, right? Trump has already done his campaigning, right? He's already done that, okay? Kamala's just really getting out there. So if you can disrupt that by having more debates, then that plays into President Trump's hands because she has to take time to prepare for the debates. And she's going to have to prepare a lot because she's not good. So, yeah, I think that if Trump proposes more debates and Kamala declines or she runs away, I think it would be very hard for the media to try to spin it and say that Trump is scared when he's the one saying, any platform, anytime, let's do the debates. Let's do it right now. If Kamala chooses not to do it, if she chooses not to show up, if she chooses to run away or say, oh, I'm just going to do the September debate and that's it, then she's the one that's going to look weak. She's going to be the one that looked like she's running scared. And the same thing goes for JD Vance and Tim Walz, right? JD Vance should say, okay, well, let's debate right now, Tim. Since you can't wait to debate me, let's debate right now on any network, any platform, let's do it. Because again, the sooner you can get these guys to actually start talking, to get them exposed, right, in the way they should be exposed, that's our best chance. Because otherwise, if you continue to just let them hide in the campaign and to have this honeymoon that the media is going to drag out until the election, there's not much we're going to be able to do. We're going to be stuck. So again, we have to get these people exposed. And I think that the Trump campaign has realized the situation that we're in. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.